Do you remember Jordan Howard, James Robinson? How about Bucky Irving? All those guys lasted until day 3 of the NFL draft, and Robinson even went undrafted, but they all made immediate impacts on your fantasy league. This year's deep class of running back talent is bound to deliver some sneaky fantasy value, and we want you to be ready to take advantage. That's why we're revealing 6 Dynasty rookie sleepers at running back on this show. We'll also talk about why Oklahoma State's Ollie Gordon is not on that list. An all-new Draft Sharks podcast starts right now.
It's the Draft Sharks.
Matt Schaff, Jared Small, Shane Hallam here on the Draft Sharks podcast. Second show in our prospect series. We already ran through our current top 10 at running back. Today, guys, we're going to get into some players who have a shot to get into that group, and especially a few years down the road might be totally reshuffling that group. We've got 6 sleepers to run through among this rookie running back class, which I think everybody's expecting to significantly impact the fantasy landscape, both in Dynasty and redraft. You can find these guys going all over the board in best ball drafts right now. So some important players, even if you're not that serious a Dynasty player, if you're just drafting best ball, if you're playing redraft, these are guys you're going to want to know. Shane, we're going to start with the little brother of a guy that we all already know, and we probably don't love at this point, but probably did love about a year ago. The little brother is Trevor Etienne, played at Florida, then played at Georgia. And before we get into the player, does this feel like a crazy time to you and anybody else who's been watching college football for years, that somebody could just play at Florida and play at Georgia and all these guys are moving around as much as they are?
It has made the landscape so much different, where I'm typing the wrong school for some of these players. I'm used to where they played 2 years ago. I'm like, oh yeah, wait, he played here. It's very different. Never in a million years would I have thought someone would play at Florida and Georgia in their careers.
I have a hard enough time like getting all the NFL players teams right. I'm in my mid 40s at this point. Like, we've got 2 ETNs now. There are a lot of challenges here. So it's just one more challenge on the list. But Trevor Etienne, number 14 in the running back rankings in our rookie prospect guide right now, does not turn 21 until July 9th. I imagine that's a key factor in his sleeper status for you, right, Shane?
Absolutely. The youth, the potential that Trevor Etienne has is off the charts, especially for fantasy football. He's 5'9", 198, so flirting with that 200-pound mark that we seem to all love. Really, the knock on him and why he's outside the top 10 is he was never the lead back in either of these schools. Montrell Johnson, who's also in this class from Florida, who transferred in from Louisiana, blew past Etienne on the depth chart. Nate Frazier, a true freshman in Georgia, was running ahead of Etienne. So he's always kind of been the backup, but has that NFL skill set, 4.42 40 time, tied for second in a 10-yard split, 151, had 600 plus yards and 6 touchdowns every year. And I think it's easy if you watch him or pop on a YouTube video or a highlight video to see Etienne just how smooth he is when he moves. He glides, very quick twitch player, and he plays really smart. He stacks up linebackers well. He knows how to kind of use his angles to manipulate the defense. Excellent pass catcher. I think Etienne could be that type of pass catching running back that we love in fantasy and has a utility role. He's a good blocker. I think he's going to get on the field. Despite being 198, I think he blocks like he's 210 pounds. So there's a chance that he goes in the 3rd round of the NFL draft. But I think even if he's an early day 3 pick, Trevor Etienne has a shot to be an immediate impact player.
Flirting with the 200-pound mark is also what I call my diet plan around the holidays. Jared, what do you think of Trevor Etienne?
A couple things stick out with Etienne for me. First, he was 6th among the 31 combine running backs in rush yards over expected per attempt last year. Really strong in that metric. Doesn't really stand out anywhere else for me, but I will say what kind of caught my eye is that Bob McGinn article we love. He was RB6 in that running back ranking from executives and scouts around the league. So this could be a guy who the league is higher on than draft analysts like us are at this point. So that's always something that catches my eye. And, maybe even in early best ball drafts right now, like I don't think Etienne goes undrafted most of the time, but if he does, like Shane said, go RB6, RB8 in round 3, I think that fact alone is going to, have him climbing fantasy rankings, both for 2025 and Dynasty.
I tend to be wary of a guy who doesn't get more work than what Trevor Etienne did get in college. So that's where I'm starting, is that place of skepticism. But like you, Jared, I noticed that he was number 6 in those Bob McGinn rankings, which, we'll see how that bears out in the draft, but it is based on him talking to scouts. So there's some merit to it. Shane, is there any downside here? What's the concern for Trevor Etienne?
I think the downside is that he wasn't a 1A in college. If you can't be 1A in college, like you said, Matt, that's where the skepticism comes in. Can you even be a 1B in the NFL? I think that's kind of the question mark. Is there something out there? Maybe it's work ethic. Maybe it's just in terms of carrying a workload that you have to almost limit those touches or it's not going to be successful. I think that's the fear here with Etienne, that he just isn't really built for the NFL, but we'll find that out pretty soon.
He was also suspended for one game last year for a DUI charge. So, there could be some off-field stuff too. Again, we'll see kind of how the NFL handles that.
I did read, I believe it was in that Bob McGinn write-up, that he kind of buckled down after that, showed contrition, and got more serious about the training, the off-field stuff. So, we'll see. It'll certainly be something to keep an eye on as we get into and beyond the NFL draft. Like I said, you can find Trevor Etienne along with the rest of these running backs in our second annual rookie prospect guide. It is available for free at draftsharks.com right now. You will find 100 players profiled, overall rankings by format, as well as positional rankings, updated mock drafts for both 1QB and Superflex Dynasty formats, all for the low price of absolutely nothing. So head to draftsharks.com right now to get access. Devin Neal of Kansas, Jared, is next up on our list. He's your first sleeper of this show, number 12 in our running back rankings in the prospect guide right now. Good size, strong college production, but kind of a meh speed score. What do you like about Devin Neal?
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. I mean, the thing to like about Devin Neal is the production, and it started right away at Kansas. He led Kansas in rushing as a true freshman in 2021. And then the following 3 seasons, over 1,000 rushing yards in all 3 seasons, 20 plus catches in all 3 seasons. That includes over 1,200 rushing yards each of the last 2 years, 6.0 yards per carry over the last 2 years. And then last year, again, you look at the 31 running backs that went to the combine this year, Neal ranked 7th among those 31 in PFF rushing grade. He was 14th among those 31 in yards after contact per attempt. And then on the receiving side, 9th among the 31 in market share of receiving yards this past year, 8th in yards per route run. So just accumulation of production. I think Devin Neal across those 4 seasons is impressive to me, both on the ground and in the passing game. Like you said, Matt, I think the biggest knock against him is the measurables. 4.58 40 time at 213 pounds, subpar speed, 6.65 relative athletic score. That was 18th among the 26 running backs that tested at the combine. So definitely not going to win on athleticism, but the guy just produced in college. And Neal's a guy who, if you look at our Draft Sharks rookie model, he's tabbed as one of the better on film guys, which means the scouts like this guy better than, maybe some of the other metrics might. And Alex, who puts together that rookie model for us, has said that these guys who come in as better on film have tended to outperform their expectations in the NFL. So I definitely like that about Neal as well.
Kind of the reasoning for that is better on film would be players who, don't test elite for the position, but have produced in spite of that, relative lack of testing. And we always kind of have to look at it as relative. That's right in the name RAS, because we're talking about comparing them to other elite athletes. So even if you're not elite, you're still a very good athlete. Devin Neal actually sits 8th in our current Draft Sharks rookie model score among the running backs, highest among the guys that we're going to be talking about on this show today. That could drop significantly if his draft capital isn't great, because we still have to add in that piece. But even that is assumed at this point based on where guys are mocked to. So, we'll see the outcome post-draft. Shane, where are you at on Devin Neal?
I think he's a solid player. As Jared pointed out, you have the receiving skill has been there from day one at 18 years old. The production's been there. He's a bang player. He takes what's there, powerful, really hard to tackle between the tackles. So I like what Devin Neal brings to the table in terms of vision, in terms of receiving, in terms of blocking. He kind of does everything well. He's one of those players as a freshman I remember watching saying, wow, if this guy improves, he's going to be a top back of a class, and he just never improved. That's kind of the knock on Devin Neal. He just never really got better. He kind of is what he is. And the lack of explosiveness and wiggle scares me a little bit, but I think it's all about opportunity. I think if Devin Neal gets the opportunity to get carries, he is going to be productive. He's already shown that in college. It's going to happen in the NFL. So I think draft capital for all the players on this list, I think Devin Neal is almost the most important. If he goes round 3 and gets an opportunity, I think he's going to produce. If he goes round 6, then I think he's going to be stuck and we're not going to hear much about him.
That's what makes us such an interesting class right now, is we have so many guys that we're just waiting to see exactly where the league favors them, that seem like they're bunched together right now. Speaking of opportunity, Jordan James had to wait for his opportunity at Oregon, currently number 15 in our running back rankings. He had to work behind Bucky Irving for his first couple of years with the Ducks. Nice final season, though, once he finally became the backfield leader. Shane, what should we like about Jordan James?
I'll actually contend your point. I don't think he played that much behind Bucky Irving. They split it pretty well. Bucky Irving had more carries, but Jordan James had the same amount of rushing touchdowns as Bucky in 2023. Oregon still couldn't keep Jordan James off the field. He was that good. He's 5'10", 205. Like you said, very productive this past season. 1,267 rushing yards, 5.44 yards a carry, 15 rushing touchdowns. And they line him up all over the place, out wide in the backfield, kind of use James as a weapon. He's good after the catch. He's good in space. He plays bigger than he is. He plays like a 215 kind of power back. Now, the problem with that is he ran a 4.55. The speed score, the relative athletic score, the athleticism, kind of like Devin Neal, but even worse, is not there for Jordan James from what we've seen in the workouts so far. He definitely plays very stiff. So that's my fear. Again, I think the draft capital is going to be a big part of this. But I like James as a receiver. I like how the opportunities that he got despite being with Bucky Irving. In an offense like Oregon, they're not going to put you on the field if you're not explosive enough to make big plays. That's what I like about James, and think maybe he could be a little bit sneaky.
I like the specific context that you added there, because it's normally at least a slight knock on a player if he has to work behind somebody else in college. But if you're forcing your way onto the field in spite of Bucky Irving being there, and we just saw Bucky Irving succeed as an NFL running back, then that can actually be a mark in your favor that you did play to that level. Jared, you got anything to add on Jordan James here?
Yeah, I would just say I think the lack of speed that Shane mentioned with the 40 time shows up in the numbers as well. James was 28th among the 31 running backs at the combine in rate of runs to go for 15 plus yards this past season. So he really wasn't a big play guy, but he was 5th among those 31 RBs in PFF rushing grade, 10th in rush yards over expected per attempt. So still looks like a strong rushing season for James after, again, like Shane said, flashing alongside Bucky Irving. James also just turned 21. So, not quite as young as Etienne, but still, one of the younger RBs in this class, which, could point to further upside.
I'll be curious to see if even those slight differences in speed score, athleticism kind of separate some of these running backs in a class that looks bunched up. And, maybe we'll have to look at specific landing spots. This is the second show in our prospect series, but we've got plenty more to go beyond this one. Wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, even IDPs. And for the first time, I'm not going to be talking to myself about IDPs when we hit the rookies there. So you're going to want to know when each of the new shows drops. If that's the case, subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notified. Or if you're tired of looking at Jared, you can just subscribe wherever you like to get your audio pods. We'll hit you that way too. Jared, I'm not tired of looking at you or talking to you. So I want to hear about your next sleeper. And it is Jarquez Hunter, who's number 25 in our running back rankings in the prospect guide right now. Full disclosure, these are really more Shane rankings at the moment, because we get to like January, February, and Shane's like, yeah, I've been watching this guy for 7 years. I talked to his middle school teachers, and we're like, now, is it pronounced Jarquez? So, Jared, what should we like about Jarquez Hunter?
21st in our rookie motto, so at least the numbers like him a little bit better than Shane. I think I might like him even higher than that. So Hunter played behind Tank Bigsby for his first 2 seasons on campus, 2021 and 2022. Bigsby went to the NFL in 2023, and Hunter emerged as the lead back that season. Really, though, the 2024 season from Hunter is what catches my eye. 1,200 rushing yards on 6.4 yards per carry. 1.4 rush yards over expected per attempt for Hunter last year. That was second best in this class among the 31 RBs at the combine. He was also 4th among the 31 in elusive rating and 3rd in breakaway rate. Again, those runs of 15 plus yards. So had the big playability, kind of backed that up at the combine with a 4.44 40 time at 204 pounds, 80th percentile speed score for Jarquez Hunter. He caught 68 balls over his 4 college seasons. I will say, though, some of the other pass catching stuff we look at, the PFF receiving grade, yards per route run, market share, receiving yards, that stuff doesn't look great. So I'm not projecting him to be a big pass catcher at the next level, but I do think he has the size and the ability to potentially emerge as a lead early down back for his NFL team.
I like the speed. I like that it manifested in a 6.3 yards per carry career average at Auburn. Shane, what's the downside here on Jarquez Hunter?
I think the receiving is really bad. I think he's one of the worst receiving backs in terms of pure skill that we saw at the combine. That's probably my downside. As Jared said, the numbers are good in terms of the production, because Auburn's receivers were pretty poor as a whole. So there's a lot of check downs to Hunter, but he is not a natural hands catcher. He plays kind of upright, tight. But I like him. I mean, you have the production there. We talked about Bucky Irving, maybe not quite on that level, but Tank Bigsby was a top 100 pick and Jarquez Hunter cut into his rushing at Auburn almost immediately. They split about 50-50 in 2022. So Hunter certainly was talented enough to get on the field early at an SEC school with a big-time running back there. And he plays smart. I think the football IQ for Jarquez Hunter is right there. He knows how to read a defense pre-snap, post-snap. The vision's there. He plays special teams, does some returning. So I think he'll make a team. My fear for fantasy is that even if we get some carries from him, get some snaps from him, it's just not going to manifest into fantasy points.
I love the scouting terms that we get every pre-draft season. Not a natural hands catcher. Makes me think of the dude's just out there trying to grab the ball with his elbows or got his mouth wide open or something. But yeah, that's a good point. We do have to wonder about the receiving, and it's going to be especially important for these later round guys if they are later round. The next sleeper on the list from you, Shane, is a stout back from Texas Tech, Tahj Brooks, number 25. And, like I said, primarily your rankings. What makes this guy with a good speed score and lots of work over the past 2 years a sleeper?
I'm a sucker for these compact players, 5'9", 214. So he's just built like this mini tank. I love those type of players. He's kind of DJ Giddens light. We talked about DJ Giddens on the last podcast from Kansas State, the running back. I think Brooks has a lot of the same stylistic pieces to him. 2 straight 1,500-yard seasons with 10-plus rushing touchdowns in each of those. He had over 100 yards rushing in every game this season and at least 95 yards rushing in the last 22 college games he played. That's just crazy numbers. No matter what the offense or who the player is, that doesn't happen. He's slippery. He's tough to tackle. He has that power with that compact size. The downside is why Brooks is 25th. He's not super explosive. He ran a 4.52. He's not a home run threat. The pass catching, I think, is very mediocre. But he's a violent running back. He's a really fun watch because he gets under your pads. He will play lower than those defenders, and he will knock a 330-pound guy right in the mouth and run over him at 5'9". I think that type of player can have a role in the NFL and maybe has some sleeper potential.
So is he like this year's version of the cliche that we get pretty much every year now where somebody is a rolling ball of butcher knives?
I think it's going to get dropped on day 3 of the draft at some point.
I think that started with Warren Sapp, maybe. I think he was the first guy that was described that way, and then it just gets attached to some dude who's kind of squatty and thick and strong and also good at football. Jared, what do you think of Tahj Brooks?
I was glad to see Brooks on Shane's list because, he was kind of the next guy for me. It would have been my 4th sleeper if Matt let us pick 4 for this podcast, but we were limited to 3. But glad Brooks made the list. Like Shane said, the production is awesome, both on the ground and in the passing game. I think he tested fine, right? The 4.52 at 214 pounds, that's a 73rd percentile speed score. He was an 8.59 relative athletic score. So not like an elite athlete, but I think athletic enough. Brooks seems like someone to me where he's probably going to be a day 3 pick, right? But if he lands in a backfield with opportunity, he seems like he's ready to produce right away. Could be someone who even as a rookie is someone we're looking at as a fantasy asset.
Got to put limitations on these picks, Jared. Otherwise we have to call it the everybody else at running back pod instead of rookie sleepers. So we'll go with one more pick from Jared here. Brashard Smith from SMU, number 16 in the running back rankings, so ahead of the guys that we just talked about. Turns 22 about 2 weeks before the draft, so another young guy. Went from 3 seasons at Miami to a final year at SMU, so it seems like a move down in competition to me, Jared. What should we like about this guy?
Well, if you're looking for this year's Tyrone Tracy, most years there wouldn't be one, but this year there actually is. It's Brashard Smith, who at Miami for those 3 seasons was primarily a slot receiver for the Canes. Caught 69 balls over those 3 seasons. Never played a big role for that team, but transfers to SMU this past year and makes the move to running back and was really good. Over 1,300 rushing yards last year, 14 touchdowns, 5.7 yards per carry, 0.7 rush yards over expected per attempt for Smith. That was 10th among 31 combine running backs. So efficient and productive on the ground, again, especially for a guy who just made the move to the position after spending the previous 3 seasons primarily as a wide receiver. Then, of course, Smith continued to be productive in the passing game at SMU. 39 catches, 327 yards, 4 receiving touchdowns. Easily led those 31 combine running backs in PFF receiving grade last year. He was 3rd among those 31 in yards per route run. He is on the smaller side. He's just 194 pounds, but he ran a 4.39 at the combine, so has the speed. So again, not someone who's probably ever going to be a high volume runner at the NFL because of that size, but I think he showed glimpses of being a strong running back and should really continue to grow considering his inexperience at the position. So you may be someone who gets a 1B role in the backfield, but then also dominates passing down work. And we know how valuable that stuff can be in fantasy football.
And that was a lot more production last year than Tyrone Tracy had at the end of his college career at Purdue. And we've gotten some guys in that, 190 to 200 range lately. Bucky Irving, Tyrone Tracy last year, giving us the kind of production. Maybe teams will be a little bit more believing in them. Shane, what do you think of Brashard Smith?
I had him in college fantasy football last year. He was a cheat code with the receiving and the rushing and everything. I mean, he carried that SMU team to the college football playoff. They would not have been there if it wasn't for Brashard Smith. So I'm right there with Jared. I think Brashard Smith is an excellent player. If there's a team that gets a little bit peckish at having a unique weapon, then I think Smith could be a day 2 pick. I think it's still a possibility. He's an absolute nightmare in space, great at getting past that second level, plays some special teams, can do the return stuff. That's always good. I think a positive and negative, as Jared kind of pointed out, that there's still a lot more growth potential. He's still learning the nuances of the position. I mean, Brashard Smith, in terms of reading what hole to go to or what angle to take outside, I bang my head against the wall watching him when he just takes this wide angle to the outside when he could cut it upfield and get 10 yards and gets 3. It's one of those types of things where, like, man, if he just has some more experience, I think he could really break out. Maybe we see that in the NFL.
And the NFL is constantly trying to play to its London market. So we could see some teams getting a bit peckish this year. It wouldn't be all surprising. You can already find actual quantified values for all of these running backs in our dynasty trade value charts on draftsharks.com. You'll also find values assigned to each specific rookie draft slot with ADP based predictions for the players you can expect to go at those slots, helping with those values. That gives you a big boost if you're looking to make some dynasty trades ahead of the NFL draft. It's certainly going to give you a leg up on the competition in your league. And if you want to get even more value, you can dig into the Trade Navigator that is attached to any team that you sync to draftsharks.com. It is vital, not only for finding the right deals, but for weighing the impact on your team this year and years beyond. It's a powerful tool for your dynasty trading. That's it for the sleepers on the show, guys. I want to hit Ollie Gordon, though, last, and I want to get into why he did not make the list, because 2023 found him leading all of FBS in rushing yards with 1,732, leading all of FBS with 324 touches, leading the Big 12 in both rushing and total touchdowns. He averaged 6.1 yards per carry. He averaged 8.5 yards per catch across 39 receptions. Looked like he was going to be a top prospect among this running back group. People are just overall cooler on him now. So I guess, Shane, what happened to Ollie Gordon in 2024?
I think it was kind of 50-50, the team and him. Oklahoma State, you had a lot of transfers out on that team. The offensive line was in shambles in 2024. And it seemed like Ollie Gordon, after that amazing Heisman-worthy 2023 season, tried to take it all on his shoulders. He seemed to regress in a lot of areas. He's already a big, that 226-pound, 4.61 back. He's already big, runs high, is not super explosive. And so when he's trying to kind of find the perfect hole, and it seemed like he was almost too patient in the backfield, just trying to break a big run and find the right place to go, and he just gets swallowed up. I mean, 6.08 yards per carry in 23 went down to 4.63 in 2024. I think there's still positives about him, but it's tough to look at Gordon in 2024 and think, oh, this is a sleeper. This is a guy that could break it wide open when that regression hits. So he's a scary guy, I think, to push all your chips in the middle on.
And he didn't impress with the 4.61 40, but that gives him a 100.1 speed score, 66th percentile among combine running backs. So that's a pretty good number. Jared, where are you at on Ollie Gordon right now?
The reason I'm less excited about Gordon, even than I was, maybe a month ago as I've started digging into this stuff more, is that his 2023 to me looks less impressive than I thought, than it looks just looking at the raw production. So I look at all these running backs and I stack them up based on their 2024 performance in terms of all this stuff, PFF rushing grade, yards after contact per attempt, elusive rating, all that stuff. I also look at how they stack up in terms of their best career marks in all those categories, right? Just to see if some of these guys like Gordon, all his best career marks and that stuff came in 2023. But if I stack him up against all the 31 RBs at the combine in terms of their best marks and all this stuff, Gordon ranks just 17th among those 31 in his best PFF rushing grade. And he's 26th among those 31 in best elusive rating. Even that 2023 elusive rating, which again measures, yards after contact and missed tackles forced, basically, what the running back's doing beyond the blocking he receives. even in that 2023 season, it wasn't that good. So I wonder how high the rushing ceiling actually is. The pass catching profile is not very strong. I don't think he's going to do much of that at the next level. And then, like you said, Matt, he's just an average athlete, even adjusting for his size. So we'll see. He's someone I'm super curious to see how the NFL treats him, right? Is he going to get into day 2 or is he going to slip into day 3?
Shane's comp for Ollie Gordon in our prospect guide is Toby Gerhart, who you might remember as a meh NFL running back guy who played well as a backup in Minnesota, got a shot to be a starter in Jacksonville, and wasn't very good. And then if you look at the mock draftable list of comparable players based on the combine testing, we've got the names that you'll recognize beyond this year's fellow rookies are some bigger backs who have had meh NFL careers, like Kalen Ballage is on the list, Josh Adams, Royce Freeman. So it seems like maybe Ollie Gordon is headed for a guy that's fine. He was good for a little bit in college, was probably not as good as his total numbers indicated, and is, going to make the NFL, but not destined for anything special. Does that seem fair, Shane?
No, I think it's fair. I think along with the Toby Gerhart comp, the Royce Freeman one's probably that's how he runs. That's a pretty good one too. I just think when you have that size, even with an average, decent athletic profile, I think it's hard if you're not a really good athlete to stand out and in today's NFL really be a starter that's going to be fantasy relevant in RB1 or RB2.
Yeah, there was a time where 6'1" was a good size for running back, but now it's a bit more like 5'11", 5'10". You get a little too tall for the position unless you know how to use it or have some special trait otherwise. Jared, anything else on Ollie Gordon?
No, again, I think the path to fantasy relevance for him is tougher too because of the lack of pass catching stuff. Right? He's going to have to really excel as a runner if he's not going to contribute much to our teams as a pass catcher.
The Dynasty Value Series is rolling on at draftsharks.com as well as on these pod channels. We will be talking wide receivers on here next week. And Kevin English just posted his breakdown of Missouri wideout Luther Burden this morning. Disappointing 2024 for Burden. Might be sliding out of round 1 after he looked like he was going to be an earlier pick, but Kevin still likes the Dynasty upside, so make sure to check that out. Find out why, and you'll find lots more upside for all of your Dynasty teams with the array of content and tools available to you on draftsharks.com. We're just waiting to help you stack championships. We want Draft Sharks to be your unfair advantage.